The child lost his life. He was a twin, African American teenager, and his mother had never allowed her sons to go to basketball practice alone. And so they were, they're 6 feet tall, and they're like, Mom, listen, you gotta let us do this thing, right? We're getting older. So she says, okay. So she agrees, and on the way home, they encounter some other children, unfortunately, who wanted one of the brothers' gym shoes. And then he pulled out a weapon and had him at gunpoint, and then the other brother stepped in, and unfortunately he was killed. But this was all over gym shoes. A pair of gym shoes. And so I come home from work that day. At the time I was working in Inglewood, so I'm still in complete uniform, and I come in the kitchen and it's on the news. So I have the TV in my kitchen, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So I start calling everyone that I knew, like, listen, we've got to do something. Today it's a child that we don't know. Tomorrow it might be one that we do. And so what are we going to do about this? Because coming from CPS originally, I know some of the hopelessness that some of our children have, especially male Black children living in an environment that's not always safe, be it at home, at school, or in the neighborhood. So that's a real thing. And so I put together a nonprofit to give it to you really quick. I started it. I got injured, had to stop. My grandson lost his cell phone. This lady calls my daughter and says, hey, I found your son's phone. Oh my God, I'm going to make sure that you get it back. Okay, great. So they play phone tag and they keep doing this, and it took maybe weeks. Finally, they meet. And the lady says, because I wanted to make sure your son got his phone back because he reminds me of my son. She tells my daughter, you may not remember this, but my son was killed on 63rd and State. And my daughter says, oh my God, yes, my mom went crazy. She started a nonprofit because of your child. She said, yes, we've been praying for you ever since. So I was like, okay, God, are you giving me a hint? Because I had stopped working. So I got back and I started working again. And so just recently we were, thank God, granted our the 501c3. So now we can really, thank you.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Yes, it is.
It really is.
To start to really help, because we can solicit funding and grants and things of that nature, where before all this has been coming out of pocket.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
I understand.
Right.
So how can people find out more about your nonprofit? Do you have a website? Do you have an email?
I do. I have a website. I have an email. The email is blackboyswhocanread@gmail.com, and boys is spelled with a Z, so it's BOYZ. And I have an email. I also have a website, and it's called we'vegotYouCovered.org. And so yeah, you're free to go on there and see what we do. Right now I volunteer. Like, I volunteer the first and the third Friday at a high school and at Urban Prep. And so there are multiple urban preps throughout the city. This one is housed inside of Roosevelt University.
Well, that's like home.
Right, exactly. So I go there the first and the third Friday and speak to the boys. And originally my goal was to do a literacy program. But then when I came into the high school, that's a different animal in the sense that the boys are older. So you can't come in asking them, can you read? That's because then you're going to get all stopped. Sure. So then you have to come in through the back door. So then I came in, and we're dealing now with more socialization skills, because the phone, the isolation of them not, and boys don't want to use their words anyway. So now they really don't have to, because everything is this on the phone and texting. And so we're getting there. And so I knew that it would be a thing of building trust, because they don't know me, and I'm a police officer. So now here I come. I come in.
But you don't come in uniform.
I don't come in uniform, but they know that I'm a police officer. So even though I'm in civilian dress, do they trust me enough to talk to me? That they're talking to Kim, Dr. Lloyd, Miss Lloyd, whatever it is that they want to call me that day, that they're not talking to the police.
Yeah.
So that was a thing, I think, initially. Although they had questions, they still weren't going to really open up. But now when I see them, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I mean, some of the kids come from gang families, so we know that, and we talk about it. I said, listen, this is a safe space. So just recently I asked them, are you comfortable walking in your neighborhood? And where do you live? And how do you feel when you're walking through your neighborhood? Because I was trying to introduce them to Ta-Nehisi Coates, whom they had never heard about before, and I had bought his book, Between the World and Me, to give to them so that we could, but I realized they weren't ready. It was too much. And so then, so what I did was I just brought it down. I was like, okay, we don't have to get into that. What we're going to get into is this over here. How do you feel safe? And let's talk about that. And what do you do when you don't? So one of the little boys said, oh, yeah, I'm straight. I said, you straight? He said, yeah, because my family. I said, oh, so you have one of those families. And he laughed because I said, this is a safe space. We're keeping it real in here because I can't help you if you don't keep it real with me.
Right.
I can't tell you like, hey, be careful of this. Watch out for that. And like I tell them all the time, I'm here for you. This is my day off. And I don't get paid when I come here. So when I come here, let us be able to come in this space and share what we're here to share. And it'd be a good thing. I'm not putting anyone out. So you can act up all you want. And all you're going to do is get the Inglewood Ranger of me. Well, we call ourselves that if you worked in Inglewood, old school Inglewood, which is the 7th district of Chicago. So, and they're like, no, we'll take Dr. Lloyd. I said, okay, great. Then you'll have Dr. Lloyd. So it was a challenge initially. It was good, but it was still a struggle. But now they're like, man, where have you been? We look for you. And so it's a good thing. It's starting to be a good thing where they're opening up. They're talking about their parents. They're talking about their girlfriends. And so that's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Asking me, will I be safe if I go downtown to the Bean? Will they have enough security? Oh my God, when he asked me that, and he was so sincere, he's a senior. He was like, Dr. Lloyd, do you think I'll be safe? And I said, yes, baby, you'll be safe. And when I said that, I was thinking, yeah, I'm saying that to you, but I really don't know.
You never know.
I don't know if you're going to be safe.
Yeah. I mean, some people aren't safe going in their own bathtub. Right. I mean, things happen every day. I mean, I heard about a little boy who was brushing his teeth, and he got shot from the alley. The bullet came through the bathroom window. Right. I was like, what? Yes. He was like 6 years old, brushing his teeth. Did you hear that story? I was just like, how the... What the?
Yes. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's a lot for us as adults to manage. So imagine how children feel. Like, I had a little boy come to school with a knife when I was at Molliston Elementary School. And my principal said, this boy, go talk to him. I can't. So I asked him, I said, why do you have this knife here at school? And he went on to tell me, he said, oh, Miss Lloyd, I'm not going to get in trouble. This knife is only this long. It's got to be this long for me to catch a case. He was in 3rd grade. And I'm just looking at him. And then finally, because I'm just looking at him like, are you serious? This is the conversation you want to have with me. He says, tears come into his eyes. And he says, what difference does it make anyway? I'm probably going to be dead by the time I'm 16. So if you think about that level of hopelessness when you're 8. And then he took his little fingers out and he started telling me about everyone who was either locked up or deceased. And so he felt like I could just do whatever I want to do because I'm not going to be around anyway. So I've seen a lot, especially, on the CPS side and then on the CPD side.
Sure.
So it's all just come to fruition at this time, at this moment.
Yeah, and to make the decision to bring literacy to our young men is so critical. I'm so proud of you. It's so exciting. And you said you also bring guests in.
I do. I bring African American men in to talk to the boys so that they can see that things are possible for them. Because you need to see. If you never have a vision, you can't strive for anything. Right. You have to see, oh wow. Right. And so one of the gentlemen said he grew up in Stateway Gardens, and as soon as he said that, I could see some of the boys like, oh, I grew up there, I know. And so it was a whole thing. It was an instant connection where before they weren't really interested. But after that point, it was a good thing. And so I bring them in. I have contractors who come in. I've had entrepreneurs. I've had a gentleman who is an entrepreneur and works for ComEd. And next week I have an officer who's coming in, and so yeah, they need to
Nice.
let them know, like, hey, you can do this. And I tell them that all the time. I'm like, listen, even if nobody else has you, if no one else is supporting you, at some point you've got to say, I can do this. I've got to show up for myself. And that's what I always say to them. You have to show up for yourself.
I love
Because
that.
the moment you start, and you should have someone there for you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You're a child, but you may not. So what are we going to do? We can't stay here. So if I'm here and you want to know how to get from here to there, then that's what I'm here for. I'm here for whatever that void is that you need an adult to help you. Like, hey, Dr. Lloyd, how do I do this? And how can I do that? And yeah, and let's do it legally.
Hello. Yes, please. That'd be so nice. Thank you.